Welcome, everybody. Happy Monday. It's the start of a new week. My name is Kai Hoffman. I'm the CEO of the Soar Financial Group. This is episode 72. In a few seconds, I'll be joined by Kenneth Berry. He's the President and CEO of Vertex Mining Corp. And we'll be talking about the operations down in Arizona. But before we get started, this is a reminder, make sure to use our hashtag AskNEE, the company's ticker, for your questions during this live stream. We'll get to your questions at the end of our conversation with Ken. Also, make sure to follow us on YouTube, on Instagram, on Spotify, but also here on Twitter. Make sure you leave comments, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. That way you get alerts when we go live with another video interview. Really important for us to get some feedback. How do you like this format? How do you like the company? Put that in the comments below, and we'll get to those as well. Now it is my distinct pleasure to welcome Mr. Ken Berry. Ken, how are you doing on this morning? How are things?
Kai, very well. Really excited to be here. Thank you very much for having me on. And I know you visited the Moss Mine and been a big follower twice. So yeah, it's really happy to be on, give you a little bit of an update.
Yeah, the last visit, I actually looked at it the other day. It was 3 years ago. Like, I saw some photos pop up in my timeline on Google or something, and because I saw some photos of the site visit, you barely turned on. Oh, that was the first visit. I'm sorry, that was the first one 3 years ago, and then I visited after you turned on the mine. So it was really exciting. But for our new viewers or viewers that are not familiar with Northern Vertex at this point, can you give us a 60-second rundown of Northern Vertex?
Sure, Kai. Well, since you visited the property, there's been a tremendous amount of changes. We're truly hitting our stride now in production. So we're a company that has the Moss Mine. It's located about an hour and a half south of Las Vegas and just 10 minutes outside of the town of Bullhead City. We went into production just over about 18 months ago, commercial production. And as I say, we have hit our stride. We had encountered many little speed bumps along the way, which isn't unusual for a mining company that's taking a project into production. We went right from exploration through construction, commissioning, and then ultimately production. So we put out numbers in for the quarter ending June 30th we had revenue of 18.2 million. We had over 11,365 ounces of gold and silver production. We had days where we were producing 167 ounces, and we've had in the month of July, we had days where we surpassed 180 ounces. So really, we're a mining company that has taken a property from exploration into production, located in the U.S., a fabulous address. We're drawing quite a bit of interest from mid-sized, more senior companies looking at our project, as well as we're in discussions on really using the Moss Mine as a platform for growth. So we're very interested in consolidation in amongst the production that's leveled off now and continues to improve month over month. We've also started exploration program. So this is a district-wide exploration program, and we're seeing some results from that just in the last couple of weeks, which were quite eye-popping. We're hitting high-grade results in and around the mining operations, and we're also stepping out about 1.5 kilometers to the west and 2 kilometers to the south, and we're getting results that are showing ore-grade material. So very exciting times for Northern Vertex and the Moss Mine.
No, fantastic. That's a great overview. So many points we're going to hit on in this conversation, and I don't think 20 minutes will do justice. But we've got to start a bit with the history of the company. I think I visited in February last time, about almost 2 years ago. A little over 2 years ago. This is when you turned the mine on. You've been like, the throughput was always great, but the recoveries were always lacking, and you weren't able to reconcile the gold that you were putting on the heap leach pads. And you said there were quite a few speed bumps, and it looks like the last 2 quarters you finally turned around the operation. What kind of changes have you implemented? Let's start with the history there a bit before we dive into the new exploration results.
Kai, as you mentioned, you visited the property back just over two and a half years ago, thereabouts. At that time, we had just completed construction and we were commissioning the project. So, when you have these startup mining situations, you generally encounter issues during that startup phase, and ours was no different. We ended up having some issues with our crushers. We had to rewire the electrical wiring for our crushers. And then once we started applying solution to the ore on the heap leach pad, we were looking at better ways to manage our solution flow. And so these are all things that during the 18 months that we've just gone through, that we were fine-tuning. And during this time, what happens is you're dealing with your working capital and you're dealing with production issues. But we were successful at bringing on a team that has just been second to none on operations. It's led by Joel Murphy, who's our GM. And Joel came to us, formerly he was the GM of Florida Canyon. And when he was GM of Florida Canyon, they had the lowest cost producer in all of Nevada. They were a very low grade mining operation. So Joel's been able to take those skills that were learned there over the many years at Florida Canyon and transfer them to the Moss Mine. He's built a fabulous team. We've got guys like Jim Gubler and Kessler Morris. And so these are individuals and supervisors, managers that are leading the way for the Moss Mine. So during the last 18 months, as you mentioned, we have overcome issues to really announce many records as of June 30th. And these records were included production that surpassed that 11,000 ounce gold silver equivalent. And then we put out another update in July. We did 4,700 ounces for the month of gold silver. So we have hit our stride. We're continuing to cut costs now with the operation. We have a power line that's coming on stream in September. We're also looking at moving to a 3/8 crush from a 1/4 inch. And this is quite an achievement. We've done over 200 days of column tests. We're now doing a bulk sample test. And what this means is an ability to scale up the operation, put another 30% through our crushers and really cut our costs down. So these cost-saving measures, along with the exploration program that's underway now, are starting to add value, and it's showing in the marketplace.
Fantastic. 4,700 ounces a month is actually not bad. That's a great run rate. You haven't put out any guidance or anything, at least that I could find, like with COVID and the whole situation. I know it's very difficult, and I hate to put you on a spot there, but maybe we could briefly talk about the impacts of COVID and also your guidance moving forward. Like, how are things looking? Was July an outlier? Did you hit some higher grade shoots or like veins that sort of contributed to that, or is that going to be standard moving forward? Ken? We're just reconnecting to Ken real quick. Oh, there. Ken, you're back? Yeah. Sorry about that. I lost you for a second there. What was the last thing you heard that I said?
Well, you'd mentioned that in this current environment with COVID and that we're dealing and we're putting protective measures in place. And I think I had mentioned to you earlier in the week that the Moss Mine was one of the first operations that really addressed the COVID situation. I flew down from the PDAC in Toronto directly to the mine site, and we ended up early on adopting some measures to protect our staff. We have 150 men and women working on site on a daily basis. They travel to and from their homes in Bullhead City, which is just 10 to 15 minutes away from the mine site. But we currently do daily checks on temperatures. We have disclosure signed off by every employee on a daily basis. We've been very successful at keeping the mine operating without any incidents. So we'll knock on wood there. But when many other mining operations were shutting down, Northern Vertex and the Moss Mine have been able to work right through this process, and we're just diligent about it. There's you probably see in the media, there's a lot of information on Arizona being a hotspot. That's primarily down in the Tucson and Phoenix area. Bullhead City has seen its share, but as a mining operation, we've been successful at sheltering our staff and keeping the workers.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Like, one thing is, like, I'm not sure you heard that because of a poor connection issue real quick. We had to reconnect there. But I wanted to put you a bit on the spot as well in terms of guidance. July, 4,700 ounces sounds great. Was that a bit of an outlier because you hit some higher grades, or are we able to see this moving forward on a monthly basis? Are we going to see that run rate continuing?
No, we've seen the production continue to increase quarter over quarter for the last 3 quarters. I thought July was indicative of what we may see here in the future. We haven't put guidance out with the current COVID environment. We've been careful on that. What I will say though is you'll likely see cash costs in around that $850 to $950 range, with our all-in sustaining costs in around $1050 to about $1150. And again, this is just sort of rough ballpark figures. We also have, during the next 12 months, some significant investments in long life lead items, and that includes the power line, which will come on stream in September. We're very proud of that. That's an initiative that was backed by the U.S. government with a 1.6% 15-year loan on about $3 million to allow us to build that power line. And what it means to the Moss Mine and Northern Vertex stakeholders is it replaces 8 generators that are burning about 10,000 gallons of diesel a day. So you can imagine the savings for the company, and the improvement in the environmental side is just immense. So we're pretty excited about that improvement. But I would say that production will continue to increase here as we move forward.
Yeah, I remember that power line was a big topic on our site visit 2.5 years ago as well, and it's been a long way coming. So
yeah,
congrats on that, because I know it was a big item and it should tremendously help. Let's talk about gold price environment for a second, like, because I want to know how it affects you guys, like how it affects your mine planning. Like, we're at 1950 or 1977 actually this morning. Let's not talk about 2000 even, but like you have a lower grade overall like mine, open pit, heap leach. What's your average mine grade, and also like how does it affect your mine plan right now? Like, where were your resource calculation, reserve calculations been done at, and how does it affect your overall plans moving forward?
Well, a number of different points you brought up there, but our calculations previously on our mine planning were all done at around $1,200 gold. So, it stands to reason this is an exciting time where we've seen precious metals move through $2,000. It's had a pullback now, but we've been selling over the last month, 6 weeks, our weekly sales. We've been selling gold at anywhere from 1900 plus, so we're extremely pleased on that. Our current resource is sitting just under 500,000 ounces global resource. We've got this exploration program underway now. We're drilling about 60,000 feet of drilling between now and September, October, and then we'll look to do a resource calculation. We're very optimistic. Our goal is to double this resource from the 500,000 ounce global resource and beyond. When that happens in the future here, as we start to report on increases in our resource, you would likely see then a life of mine that would go under a revision, and that would be something that would happen either later in the year or the first quarter of 2021. So, but it's exciting times. The last time we did a 14,000 foot drill program was last fall. And with that 14,000 feet of drilling, we added over 120,000 ounces to our global resource. So we fully expect to see an increase here from this exploration program underway.
Fantastic. Let's talk about the drill results you put out last week as well. Like, where the results come from in regard to the mine plan? I know, like, I've looked at I'm not a geo, but I looked at your PowerPoint briefly this morning as well. You're tracing a couple of veins that look like they might be meeting further down, further. I'm not south, but deeper down. That's what I was looking for. And run us through that. Like, how significant is that for the mine planning? Like, your open pit, but like, how far can you push the pit out? Like, how can you reach the new results that you had there? Like, how does that factor in?
Well, our current resource outlines a pit that will be about 1.5 kilometers on surface. So we've been doing drilling here for the last couple of months in and around that mining pit. We're looking to join what we refer to as the west pit and the central pit. We've been drilling an area called the Gold Bridge Zone. This is expected to add ounces to our resource, but it will also eliminate a division between the west pit and the central pit. So it'll be one larger pit. In addition, we've drilled about 500 feet south in an area that we call the Ruth Vein. And this Ruth Vein has given us very high grade results. We've had 69 grams over 6.2 meters, and we've had over 2 ounces per ton over 1.5 meters of gold, and then also 700 grams plus silver per ton. So just amazingly high results, and that's what we were looking for. We were looking to add ounces, but also increase the grade in and around the pit. So this Ruth Vein, which is yielding these high grade hits, runs parallel to the Moss structure or the Moss open pit. We haven't identified just how far on surface this runs, but we fully expect to be drilling fences across this Ruth Vein, stepping out to the east, and you'll see some additional results on that over the next month to 6 weeks. So we've achieved the high-grade hits. We believe we're adding ounces in and around the pit, but we've also stepped out 1.5 kilometers to the west, and we've had successful drilling in that area. We refer to it as the western extension. And then we've also stepped to the south in the West Oatman, and this is another structure that runs parallel to the Moss, but it's about 2 kilometers to the south of our operations. And we're hitting ore grade material there. We hit 53 meters at over 0.8 of a gram. So again, another area that we think we can add some additional ounces. So we really achieved 3 areas. We had high grade, we stepped out and established that there is ore 1.5 kilometers and 2 kilometers from the mining site. So it's exciting times for us.
Sounds like it. You get so many areas you got to cover. It's like you get internal optimization, increasing throughput with 3/8 of an inch crush size, the power line. One thing I noticed in your growth strategy is ILS. What does that stand for, and what can you optimize there? What's the impact?
Yeah, that's a solution management program, and what it does is it divides up the leach pad into various cells, and then when we're recovering the solution flow from the leach pad, you're able to funnel in the highest grade possible to your Merrill-Crowe facility, which recovers the gold and silver from solution. And when you get an area of the cell that's yielding lower grades, you recirculate it back up onto the pad, and it gives it a chance to basically stack and raise the grade so that you're constantly managing that solution flow. And that's something that Jim Gubler, our meddler, just has been very successful. So when he came on board, we had a feasibility study that had outlined a recovery of 60% in the first 120 days. And then ultimately, after 240 days, you would get to 82% off of the leach pad. Jim's been able to bring down that first 60% recovery from 120 days to 45 days. So in 45 days, we're getting 60% of our gold silver recovery, and then ultimately he's able to raise that ultimate recovery from 82% to 86%. But what it means is that you're pulling the gold and silver off earlier, you're minimizing your water requirements. So we've also cut down our water requirement from, I think we've reduced it by about 30-40%. So this is all surrounding solution management.
Okay, interesting. Okay, there's so many aspects we can cover, and one thing you mentioned, I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a second. Consolidation. You want to use your now higher market cap to ideally become a North American player, maybe buy a couple more assets. But you just mentioned you got so many opportunities for internal growth, like the new discoveries, the extensions, and the Ruth Vein and everything. Why focus on consolidation and not spend the money, let's say, on organic growth?
Well, that's a great question, Kai, and that's something that we talk about on a regular basis. Look, consolidation in the mining sector is exciting, and especially when you have a U.S. asset. I think we're in an area, Northwest Arizona, that's pro-mining, and being in the U.S. versus one of these third world countries is extremely attractive. But when you have a property like the Moss Mine that's over 10,000 acres of a land package within a district that's known for its high-grade discoveries and historically produced gold dating back into the 1800s, that's a question that you have to ask yourself. Are you better served to be drilling your own property, or do you use the Moss Mine as a platform for consolidation? I think we are definitely moving down a parallel path. We are in discussions with various groups, and this is common within the mining sector, but we're also pushing ahead on that exploration program on our own property. And so that program that's underway now is a 60,000-foot program. I wouldn't be surprised if you see us increase that program along the way. But we have, to date, we've been disclosing these record production numbers, most notably the quarter ending June and then the month of July. What I believe an area that has yet to be sort of recognized is the exploration potential of the Moss Mine. So for Northern Vertex stakeholders and shareholders, this is something that we're on the verge of changing is giving the district and the Moss Mine that recognition that there's numerous exploration targets. There's both high grade potential and there's also bulk tonnage potential to add ounces to this property and to continue to extend the mine life.
Fantastic. We got only a couple minutes left, unfortunately, but I really want to talk about capital structure and the financial side of things. You mentioned in your presentation you've bought or is it you paid some gold calls to Sprott in August 2020, but I couldn't find a press release on that. So if we could get some more some color on that, and also like you got a debenture coming due in December to Greenstone. They're a major shareholder. I'd like to get some more color on what you're planning there as well.
Sure. Okay. Well, what you're bringing up here is really the cleaning up of the balance sheet, and this is something that we've been working on since early in the new year. We were successful at continuing to build our team out. David Splett joined us as our new CFO. He's got an incredible track record, formerly the CFO for Latin America for Gold Corp, was also with Mosaic Mining and Teck. So he's been focused on the cleanup of our balance sheet. And what this means is paying down our debt. Over the last 12 months leading up to December, we will have paid down in debt and principal payments about $14 million in debt. You've mentioned we had the Sprott loan, which was associated with a 6,000 ounce gold call dating back to originally when Sprott had lent us money to build out the Moss Mine. We paid Sprott in full in July, so that debt is now behind us. What we also did was we had some Swiss debt at a reduced rate of 5% interest, and that's about 4.6 million US. It was about to come into current liabilities in July, and what we've done is we've reorganized that and extended that low interest rate of 5% out for another 5 years. And this is held by supportive shareholders over in Europe. So that was something that we had done in this restructuring of our balance sheet. And we intend to pay down the Greenstone $8.5 million US debt, which is due in December. So as I mentioned earlier, our cash position in June was about 6.8 million. That's been growing week over week. So we're in a position to pay off that Greenstone debt and reduce our commitments on our balance sheet. So we're very pleased with the way that's gone.
Okay, so you're actually planning on repaying and not converting, because I think the conversion price is at 30 cents. You're trading at 55. Greenstone not interested in doubling their money within a couple of weeks?
Well, that's something that they'll have to decide. So you can look at it two ways. We either pay down that $8.5 million, which we believe will happen in December, or they convert, which means that's $8.5 million more in our treasury. So either way, we continue to accumulate cash as our production is ramping up, and our exploration program is continuing to be active right through to October, November, and then we'll look for a resource calculation at that time.
Fantastic. Allow me one last question, because we are out of time. Are you looking at consolidating your shares and maybe uplisting to the NYSE?
We have a NASDAQ OTC listing, and right now you're seeing volume increase in Canada. On the TSX, we're trading anywhere from about close to 400,000 shares a day. We're starting to see the increase down in the US on that NASDAQ OTC listing. So on a daily basis, that's increasing, liquidity is improving. I would love to have a full listing down in the States. I think that would be the next move for a company that has multiple assets. But there's certainly, we're getting recognition now, and we're increasing our valuations. And I just believe with a company like ours, it's going to spin off about 25 to 30 million in free cash flow. We're in a great position to reap the benefits of a rising market.
Fantastic. Ken, thanks so much for joining us. It's great to see that you're drilling to expand the resource size, not just updating the price deck on your calculations. So that's good to see. Really appreciate you coming on. Thanks for taking the time this morning. I know we had to shuffle a couple things around, so I really appreciate that. Everybody else, thanks for watching. Thanks for giving us your feedback, and thanks for following us on YouTube and on Twitter. We'll be uploading this video shortly. It will be available on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify as well. And make sure to follow us there. Turn on the alert button, and you'll get notified when we go live again. Ken, thanks so much. We'll share the links with you shortly, and we'll talk soon. We should go for
Thank
that
you very much,
coffee
Kai.
walk here
Appreciate you
along the
having me
seaboard
on
very soon.
and the opportunity to talk about Northern Vertex and the Moss Mine. So thanks again.
No, pleasure. Take care.